All right, another training week in the books. I'm going to try to talk a little bit about how this is broken down. I will say I only really did the main movements this week, so just squat, bench, and deadlift. And that's one of the things I like about the programming from Brett is he's only really programming in the competition lifts, and all the assistant stuff is up to me. So if I have time, great, I'll do it. If not, like this week, and I can't do it, I don't feel bad because I don't feel like I'm missing out on programming. So the way we're doing squats on day one is basically a couple of working sets of 5 with a little bit of lower weight. So in this case, I did 3 sets of 5 with 200 kilograms or about like 440 pounds, and then eventually jumped up to my top set of 220, which you're seeing right here, for a range of 4 to 5. And I've always been trying to push towards the higher range when possible. And I think that this moved pretty good. I'm definitely not used to working up to a top set with some volume work beforehand. Usually it's the other way around for me. I do my top set and do back off volume work. So that's a bit of an adjustment. The nice thing is, though, is after that competition deadlifts, it's programmed with some lighter weight, which I don't typically do a lot of work on with deadlifts. And I think this is going to be key for me as I've really been struggling with some lower back fatigue. So just doing some sets of 3 there with a lower weight and just really working on being explosive and a lockout is really going to be beneficial. Now on day 2, it's just like a real bench day. So the way the program works is day 1 is squat, deadlift. Day 2, bench. Day 3 is deadlift, squat. Day 4, bench. On this particular day, I broke out that Strength Shop Bastard Power Bar for the first time, and I actually really like it. And I think when I eventually do a review on it, and you will see some other items that I'll eventually do reviews on here in this video, and probably some of the upcoming ones too, just so I get some time under the bar or in the rack, so to say. I like it a lot, but I have a tendency to think that my review is still going to lean towards the Ohio Power Bar because they're about the same price, and I think the Ohio Power Bar is probably just a little bit better option for most people, depending on where you are. If you're overseas and you can get something from the Strength Shop UK shop, probably a lot better deal to go through them because you're going to save a ton on shipping. For the bench day, though, nothing really much to say. Really trying to work on these pin presses, if you will. In this case, safety straps, and they're a little bit awkward, and I think I'm losing some tightness in the bottom, but I'm going to try to work on that. On day 3, worked up to a heavy set of 4 with 250 or 551. These didn't feel great at the time. I made this vlog video probably the other day. I don't know when I'm going to upload this particular video, but I mentioned I brought a whole power rack down in my basement, and it was very heavy, and it really taxed my lower back, so I was feeling pretty beat up on this day. But taking a look at this set a day or so removed, it actually moved pretty well. And then moving on to some beltless squats, which is a new and foreign movement to me. I never do beltless squats. And given the fact that I had some heavy deadlift work right before this, I'm pretty happy with how these move, considering this is 380 pounds, which is pretty significant for me. I mentioned in that video too, the fact that I'm not wearing a belt. I feel like my depth is pretty good. But if you remember from a few years ago, I've always said too, I feel like deadlifting for me, for some reason, really helps with my lower body mobility and always makes me feel like I can squat deeper. Finally, finishing off the day with some more bench work. On this particular day, I broke out those monolift attachments that I showed you. This was really weird, and the reason I'm using them on bench is to kind of emulate having a handoff, but it really threw me off because I wasn't used to having the bar in the starting position. So what I found is I was actually setting up way too low on the bench and still almost doing it like I would if I was just using the normal rack. Add that on top of the fact that I wasn't really accustomed to the height of these monolift attachments, meaning that it was either too low or too high, so I still had to kind of lift the bar up more than I would have liked to. I'm going to play around with it for a little bit, but I'm more than likely not going to stick with it long term just because I don't feel like it emulates a competition that well, even though it should be like a handoff. I just don't like it that much, and maybe my mind will change with time, but we'll see. So we'll talk to you guys next week.